Hey,
Stevan, how's it
what's
going?
up, Eric? How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty good.
How about this weather outside?
My backyard, it's snowing out there.
It's snowing here too. My neighbor was just
Uh,
shoveling their driveway. I couldn't believe it.
Crazy.
So,
Down.
welcome in, Stevan MICIC, two-time bronze medalist at the European Championships. More importantly, Serbia's first ever freestyle Olympian. Let's start by saying congratulations on all your success. How are you doing during these unfortunate times?
I'm doing pretty good right now. Enjoying time with my family. Kind of laying low a little bit. Nothing crazy. Like I can't. I'm trying to follow the rules and stuff. But still trying to keep my workouts going. But with that being said, this is a good kind of downtime to get some mental stuff in and some stuff looking at some technical areas that I can evaluate, and watching a lot of wrestling too. So um, that's kind
And
of
now,
how
are
I'm.
you in Michigan or are you back in Indiana?
So I live in Northwest Indiana. I live about 45 minutes from Chicago. So I'm over here right now. Back at school, it's hard. I don't really have anything, just besides my college house if we can't be training and stuff. So just being back home right now, where I grew up. So
Cool.
yeah.
And now you are wrestling for Serbia,
Mm-hmm.
but you live and train in the United States. So before we get into the meat of things, can you just break down your family tree so for those who maybe don't know who you are, have a better understanding of why you are competing for Serbia?
Yeah. So basically um I'm 50% Serbian. My dad's 100%. My grandparents immigrated from Yugoslavia back in the late 50s. And then my dad kind of went into school with his siblings not knowing any English. They kind of just had to learn through school and stuff. So they're 100%. And my mom's American. She's actually from Iowa. And they met out in Arizona. And then we moved back to the Midwest when I was born. Basically, I'm 50%, and being, um, Serbian, Eastern Orthodox Christian. I'm basically growing up in the Serbian culture ever since I was little. My mom kind of just adopted that into her, you know, learning more about that, and converting from, and becoming like just kind of being around Serbian culture all the time, with living closer to my dad's side than my mom's side. So because the Chicagoland area, that's basically like the biggest Serbian, like where most of Serbs live outside of Serbia in the whole world. Chicago has the most of them. So that's kind of, there's a lot around here, and going to church, being kind of in that community, you kind of, you're comfortable around the language, you're comfortable with all the traditions and all of that kind of stuff. Having family nearby, and family being an important part of that. So that's how I grew up.
And when did you start to think about competing for Serbia? Because you originally competed under the U.S. flag at
Uh-huh.
the age group world championships, but when did that transition begin?
I would say, probably, I remember competing for like around cadets or juniors around that time when I was competing for the U.S. Get like Serbian coaches for Greco were coming up to me being like, "Hey, like I know you're Serbian, I know your heritage. Like, would you like to wrestle for Serbia?" Coming up to me, and I thought about the idea, like, it's something I had thought about, but I really didn't know was a possibility. And before even deciding to make any type of decisions, I kind of thought about that'd be really cool to be representing my heritage and the country that my family's all from. So and then as I got a little older, and when I started wrestling college, and when you're competing in college, the collegiate season, you kind of have some time break from freestyle. I kind of made the decision with some of the Michigan staff and my dad, and thought it was like the best idea, since I hadn't wrestled freestyle in a little bit, and it definitely, was the best choice for me at that time, and still is the best choice for me. I've been able to bring medals for Serbia for myself, and represent something that means more to me, about, with my heritage. That's really important to me. And, being able to, be the best wrestler in the world is a difficult task no matter where you're from. And it's about the same task either way, but the opportunity that it's given me is pretty awesome. So I'm really thankful for that.
And you talk about those opportunities and what it means to be Serbian to you. And you see these comments coming out. A lot of U.S. media pushes the fact that somebody in USA Wrestling, not in USA Wrestling, but who wrestles for USA, had said, you wrestling for Serbia is kind of like committing treason because you're training here in the U.S., yet you're going over to the European Championships, the World Championships, and you got a spot at the Olympic Games. So what do you say to that? I mean, because you just talked about, I could just tell how proud you are to be Serbian, but I'm sure when that was said, they didn't reach out to you and get this whole background story. So what do you say to that?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'm still American, at the end of the day, and like I live here, but having dual citizenship and an identity that can kind of has two different cultures in that is pretty unique. And at the end of the day, I'm an athlete. I'm competing for myself and the people that care about me, and for me, Serbia was the best opportunity and the best thing I chose to do. And it's not really betraying anybody. It's not really turning against anybody. I'm the people that still love me and care about me, and fans of my wrestling are going to back me no matter what, so that's kind of how I think of it. And like I decided to go that route, and knowing that people probably wouldn't think it was, but they don't know, like you said, they didn't know my story and my background. Like most people, they see my name, they know it's not like an American name anyway, so you kind of realize like, oh, he definitely has some culture, has some background from somewhere else, so different ethnicity. But like I said, I have a really good opportunity and a thing going that I'm proud of, and that's all I can control right now. And I mean, like people have the same athlete, Gilman, Thomas Gilman said that, and I've got him going, recently leaving Iowa to go train at Penn State. That's kind of, people could say that could be treason too, but he's got to do what's good for Thomas Gilman and his family that he wants to start. So, at the end of the day, that's awesome for him that he can go and do that somewhere else. And for me, competing for Serbia, I've finished 5th place at the Worlds last year and qualified myself in an Olympic spot. And I can't really complain about that because, nobody really, has anything to say about that. And only people can really support me from here. So.
And you do have a lot of support and a lot of fans. And the reason being is because you don't have the same style that a lot of other wrestlers have. But before I get into that, how would you describe your style of wrestling?
Well, I know, American, like people around the country, like Running Wrestle College, consider me being very technical, very good at my ties. I think that I'm very offensive as a wrestler. I have good offense, but I'm also very, like, for the weight that I wrestle, I'm pretty lanky. So I'm able to attack, get to the legs often, and I'm a good finisher. So with that being said, I'm able to put points on the board. And I can wrestle through positions, to make things good. So and the more that I'm, watching myself wrestle and seeing myself grow as a wrestler too, I'm definitely seeing myself get better in the positions that, maybe I wouldn't have said I was good at, a couple of years ago or even last year. And that's stuff that I'm still trying to figure out with my own wrestling, and grow with. But I definitely think I'm an attack wrestler who's pretty gritty and can wrestle through all positions. Good if we're, seat belt, whizzer, can wrestle through defensively. But I'm gonna keep wrestling through all my positions. So,
and rumor has it. When you agreed to get on the interview, I started to reach out to people who know you on and off the mat, just to try and get a better sense of who you are as a person. But somebody told me that you growing up watched a lot of Sergey BELOGLASOV videos. So a
I
lot of your
did.
style comes from him.
Yeah. So Sergey was one that I watched, and it's crazy that he's now coaching me at Michigan.
Yeah.
So that's really ironic, and I tell him that all the time. And my dad's kind of a wrestling match guru, and he definitely when I grew up, trying to learn more, I reached out. I'm talking to my dad who didn't wrestle in the past. Like I said, his parents were immigrants. All he was really doing was working and going to school. Working around. They had a farm, so he wasn't really wrestling. He was pretty much like, you're gonna go to school. You're gonna you got to do stuff for us around the house, around the farm. And that's about it. So, no wrestling. So him being a dad that wanted to really help me and something that I saw, high potential in, he definitely started trying to watch, videos of YouTube coming out, and all of it's a huge resource for him. So Sergey was one of them. Arsen Fadzayev is another one that I'm a huge fan of, back wrestling. John Smith. And then, guys like Mapa Batirov, I liked a lot, watching Cale Sanderson wrestle. All of these guys, coming through around the time that, 80s, 90s. And then when, I started loving like Buvasar Saitiev, because that's kind of right around the era that I was a kid growing into wrestling. So him being a 2-time Olympic champ already. And I'm like, wow, this guy is really good in his positions. But Sergey was one of them that he was such an attack wrestler. And all his controls, he was a go, go, go. And he tries to implement that a lot in me, and something I'm trying to help with myself right now.
So do your outside elbow ties? Because that's also unconventional. If I was scouting you, you work so much from those outside elbow ties. Was that from Batirov? Because he used to get.
But Batirov for sure was one of them. And
putting that together.
John Smith and Batirov are two guys that I really, for attacks that I was able to kind of go off of immediately when I was younger, or I would say that I could find success in hitting high level, and that's kind of what I kind of molded as a high shots from left and right side. But there are also ties that I've learned that I've noticed watching them, how they're very good at attacking quick with elbows and stuff that I'm trying to pick up still about my attacks, and not being as predictable, and knowing how I can get to my attack still. So, they're masters at it. So something I'm trying to master still.
Yeah, and it's so crazy that you watch Sergey growing up, and then he comes to Michigan. So in 2018, Sergey came to coach the Cliff Keen Wrestling Club. Real quick, what has that meant to you to see somebody who you looked up to now coaching you? You look over in the corner, and all your success, I'm sure he has a huge part to do with it. So what does that mean to you to have Sergey in your corner?
It definitely means a lot, and I definitely see a lot of respect in that, just being an athlete and having him come to Michigan. That's an honor and trying to make sure that every time that he's showing something or in the room, when he's coaching us every day, knowing like what I can focus on, what he's telling me that I can take and gain from. That's kind of how I look at having Sergey in the room. And I'm like, there's a reason why he was so dominant, so good. And sometimes, with language barriers, it can be difficult to, him speaking, broken English and knowing Russian, but trying to, communicate at a level that what he does, but can also work for me, that getting that down is really, really helped me. And he's awesome in the corner too, by the way. He's great. He just is he knows so much. He's so savvy and all those, and has knows such a good strategy about just wrestling and making the right calls and doing all that kind of stuff in the corner. It's like second nature to him,
So let's jump to your competition career, your career now. And we'll start with the 2018 European Championships in Dagestan. I'm sure you talked about what it means seeing all those matches of those great guys, and a lot of them are from Russia and Southwest Russia. So to be able to compete in Dagestan, what was that like, first off?
So Dagestan's definitely the best place for wrestling in the world, as in the amount of people that come out of there. Being Olympic and world champions, it's like I don't even want to get into the number. It's insane. So I had been there when I was 17, actually. I was a senior in high school. I went with like a USA / like developmental, group. So I actually was able to train with a lot of the guys. Some of the guys that I'm competing against now, like Uguyev, I was actually kind of got to work out with him a little bit. I got to train with a few other guys too. And it was crazy being there for 3 weeks, just meeting the people, how kind they were and stuff. But going back again, I think it was about 4 years later, in 2018, just to see how, but being a competitor this time and being able to wrestle in front of this crowd of wrestling fanatic people that just, the arena was probably one of the craziest I'd been to, just as in the amount of people there and fans. You go to places where they have UWW events and, you might not have a full arena sold out or whatever, but there it was crazy. And, they had a lot of their guys wrestling for Russia were from that hometown. I think Rashidov, where it was like walk down the street or something like that. So, so I actually, I pulled off the bronze medal, and that was my first medal for Serbia and for myself on the senior level at my first tournament. So that was pretty cool, being able to get a bronze medal. I actually wrestled Uguyev first round too, and we had a really, really close match. I think it was like 6-4 or something like that. So, coming into the tournament, having the Russian from Dagestan first round that I also knew a couple years in advance, become friends with. And, he ended up, being the world champion. I didn't wrestle that year because of an injury, but he was a 2018 world champ. And it's pretty crazy, just like how small of a world that was, just being like, I've, been around the world and been with these people and, competing against them now. So.
Yeah. And you talk about that match with Uguyev.
Yeah.
Oh, please go ahead.
No, I was just saying it just shows me the bar that I have to reach to, be a world champ as well.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you, because you come out in that match and it's first round, and I'm sure you see the bracket and that you having Uguyev is going to be a good test for you, because you mentioned it was your first tournament in a Serbian singlet, but to see where you stacked up against that competition. You get that first takedown, and it was 6-4. You were right. Good memory on that.
Yeah.
So Uguyev went on to win the world title, but what did that do for your confidence? Even though you didn't compete in 2018, what did it do for your confidence?
Well, it definitely showed that I can compete at the best level, but knowing that the barrier of all the guys at my weight class, especially 57, is like razor thin.
Yeah.
Everybody is gunning to beat Uguyev, and Uguyev can get, everybody at that weight class can win a world, like the top, I would say top 5 or 6 guys that's qualified plus another 2 can come out winning the tournament if they have a perfect tournament. So knowing, like, competing against him first, not knowing how knowing it's a Russian from Dagestan Russian first round, that was kind of like, well, it's my first match. But then finding out late, I wrestled him tight. I think I was a little conservative, to be honest, like, from my own perspective, just because I didn't know what to expect and to open up a little bit. But knowing that he had won worlds later that year, just knowing like, hey, I'm up in that category to compete to win a gold. It's just, I've got to figure out how I can compete the best and my best abilities every time I get on the mat, and that's something that's not easy at all. That's probably the hardest part, besides just owning my and figuring out those little things to fix of my own strategy, figuring out the way that I want to wrestle. That kind of was a good gauge as my first match.
Do you remember the finals with Idishurashvili? And
yeah, George Edurashvili from I think he's Georgian, but he competed for Azerbaijan. Sorry. Uguyev was winning the match, and with like 5 seconds left, he kind of looked over to his side to like look at his coaches, and Edurashvili just went for a throw and threw him for 4. It was like crazy. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, what are the chances?
Well,
But so you end up taking bronze there. You talked about that.
Yeah.
And let's move forward to the 2019 World Championships. Top 6, 6 guys earn a spot for the Olympic Games. Did you know coming in that Serbia had the history that you had the potential to make? They had never had a freestyle Olympian. Did you know that?
No. Well, I did because I was like their only freestyle guy, but I like didn't because like they have such a good Greco team, you know, with Davor and Victor Nemes and all those guys who are Olympic and world champions just recently. It's like kind of being like I'm still like a top guy in the world at freestyle, but these guys are like, you know, are winning medals and winning gold in Greco. So it's kind of like I just really didn't think about it like that until it really sunk in, you know.
So what did it mean after?
So once I had already become Olympic, probably a couple of days after the tournament, I was like, wow, I'm the first Serbian Olympian, you know, and this isn't just cool because I'm just an Olympian, but it meant more than just me, you know. It was something really, really like I was like, wow, you know, I reflected on it for a little while.
Yeah, I remember talking to you that because you finished in 5th place, so the top 6, the gold, silver, bronze, and 2/5 each go, and I remember you were a little under. It wasn't upbeat as you normally are, and
yeah,
I kind of asked myself, like, when will he really realize it that this is history? Because after, of course, you're upset about your loss and whatnot, but it took you a few days to really realize it?
Yeah, I did because, you know, going into that tournament, I wanted to go win, obviously, you know, and medal, you know, either one. Like, this is the World Championships. That's what is first and foremost important. You know, the becoming an Olympian, you know, it's like that's as well important because that's like the long run. But, you know, I'm competing for the day, and that's something that will come out of it if I can achieve my goal of, you know, medaling or taking top 6. So it was just I was a little down because, you know, I've been on my side of the bracket. I had the guys, Otley, who I had just beaten at the European Games that year, and Sanayev, who I'd beaten the previous year at the tournament before Poland, before he went on to win or silver at the World Championships in 2018 that I couldn't participate in. So I was kind of like excited to wrestle them again, but I felt like I kind of had an edge a little bit. But I also, you know, wrestling that tournament, I didn't feel like I made the best, you know, figuring out my body and my weight cut. I didn't feel like I had the best energy and made the best decisions on the mat because of it. And I was a little sad about it because, you know, I kind of put a lot of pressure on myself afterwards. Kind of like, man, I lost. It's hard to want to wrestle again and come back and be in it to compete, but knowing that that's just like, as I had done something better by qualifying for the Olympics, and I can definitely prove myself then, you know, to have my chance. But like I said, you know, beating those guys, you know, I can do it, but doing it where you know, at the right time is the most important. And like I said, the line is razor thin with all the guys, and anybody can perform.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about your mindset, because when I look forward to, like, my job's to know who's currently the guys who have the best shot at winning, but it's also to look down the road. So what I often do is I go back and look at people who lost and see what are their records after losses. Just because you define yourself not by your wins, but by how you react in your losses. And in looking at your losses, I mean, we have, let's see, I wrote them down. So it was, I mean, your European, you talked about the loss to Agoyev. You fight back, you take bronze. Europeans this year, you lost, fought back, took bronze. Matteo Pellicone lost, fought back, took bronze. What a lot of people don't have the ability to do is put that loss behind them and come back and compete at a high level right after. Yeah. So for these young wrestlers out here who lose and are only so focused on winning, what advice would you give them on the comeback? So on the backside of the bracket, first talk about your mindset after a loss, and then can you give us some advice on what you do to get over that?
Well, yeah, of course. Like, trust me, you know, a lot of times you're just kind of like, man, I lost. it's hard to want to wrestle again and come back and be in it to compete. But knowing that that's just like part of the sport that you chose, part of the tournament, you have to. So I have to put it aside of me at the time. And I always think to what helps me is like, as much as I feel that kind of pain and hurt and like that drive, I think like, this is the best chance to kind of try and make some fixes and wrestle with a little more oomph behind me. You know what I mean? So, and sometimes I wish that after I had that, sometimes before the match that I had lost, I'm like, man, I wish I wrestled a little more like that in the match that I had lost, how I wrestled, for bronze, So, trying to pick that up though, and that's kind of how I think about it when I'm wrestling back, is just like, hey, I've got to finish in a really strong note. I'm going to feel way better about it after anyways. And on that note, so that's kind of how I think with that being said. But that's something I'm trying to work on, is in like, keeping my composure, wrestling like how I would in that aspect with, before every match, even if before I win or lose, just take each match at a time and kind of have that focused in. With that mindset, you're bound to wrestle your best, as long as you give everything you got. So that's how I'm trying to look at it.
Looking forward to 2021. Of course, the Olympics get postponed, and I was reading an article earlier this morning that University of Michigan put out, and it said you originally thought that the Olympics were canceled and not postponed. Is that true?
Yeah, I was really scared. I had seen, like, I being someone who's not only like an athlete, but just wanting to like know more about it from what I could hear. All I could do was like look stuff up online and just like read articles, just going on, Google or Safari and just searching through stuff. And I found like, the president was saying like, hey, like this was early. This was like right after the NCAAs had been canceled. I was seeing like, hey, like if they had anything, it would say the Olympics, they're not gonna be able to sustain a year. They're gonna have to cancel it. So I was like, I was kind of on the edge of my seat, freaking out. But then once I started seeing news like, hey, they can't do that to these athletes, they can't do these to people, but at the same time, we can't, postpone it this year. And I kind of felt that, because I didn't like being in that like awkward stage of like being home. You're trying to listen to the rules they're giving you as an athlete, and then being like, how am I supposed to prepare for Olympics that might get postponed, might not? If they happen in July or if they happen in like September, like how am I, like I feel really like unprepared, almost unsure of myself a little. And I'm pretty sure like this was happening all across the world with athletes. Like I know because of that, Canada pulled out, Australia was pulling out, Great Britain was doing that as well, and all these other countries were like, hey, you better move it a year. So once they decided to make that official, which they did pretty quickly, I kind of was like I was already a little bit better, feeling better about myself, and knowing that, hey, all I can do is worrying about myself and getting better. It's not something that I can control right now, but that definitely gave me a little sense of cushion,
So looking forward to 2021, the Olympic Games. What are the goals?
Getting Olympic gold and being an Olympic champion has always been something that's been most important to me, more than anything of in my wrestling career. So I think, with that being said, having the time to get better and improve as much as I wanted it this year, to do it this year, I think having another year will kind of give me a little bit more time to get to, at least how I'm looking at it, is to get better, to achieve that goal, to obviously try to separate myself in that pack of elite guys, trying to figure some stuff out about myself, figuring stuff that I can improve, studying my opponents, figuring out what I need to do to be consistent and to be consistent to win. So the more time that I can figure with that, I think is going to help me become an Olympic champion,
And what would that mean to you? Have you pictured the Serbian national anthem being played, the flag being raised, you standing atop the podium? Have you pictured that?
Yeah, I have a lot. Like I try to do a lot of mental visualization of that, especially recently in this past like winter, spring time. I'm trying to learn. I'm learning more. I'm trying to learn the Serbian national anthem off my head, to just kind of do it on my own. That's something cool that'll be awesome. It'll mean a lot to me. I want to do it for myself, obviously, most, but it'd be just awesome just having my family there for me, and all the people that have been behind me and helping me push toward my goals. Something that helps fuel me too.
And you talk about that path, and I asked for fan questions, and Vahab Manocha, he asked, you talked about the 6, 7, 8 guys who could win. In your eyes, who right now are the top 3 57-kilo wrestlers in the world?
Well, I think the 3 guys I would have to beat to win. Because I can consider myself in that group, but also, I think like result and medal wise, I don't know if everyone would, you know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely see myself in that top 3 group, but I think to be able to win the Olympic gold, I would have to beat Uguyev, I would have to beat Otley, and I'd have to beat Kumar from India for sure. Those are the 3. I think those are the 3 guys that I would have to beat. That's not, without including whoever USA has, whoever Kazakhstan, whoever Japan, Mongolia, Azerbaijan. Those are obviously other good countries. So that I can see that are tough. But those 3 names are, those are the guys right now that are most consistent, I would say. And most proven on the world stage with medals. And yeah, so those are the names I'd say.
Another fan question. Favorite football player? Asked Freddie Stroker.
I kind of was I was already a little bit better, feeling better about myself, and knowing that, hey, all I can do is worrying about myself and getting better. It's not something that I can control right now, but that definitely gave me a little sense of cushion,
So looking forward to 2021, the Olympic Games. What are the goals?
Getting Olympic gold and being an Olympic champion has always been something that's been most important to me, more than anything of in my wrestling career. So I think with that being said, having the time to get better and improve as much as I wanted it this year, to do it this year, I think having another year will kind of give me a little bit more time to get to, at least how I'm looking at it is to get better, to achieve that goal, to obviously try to separate myself in that pack of elite guys, trying to figure some stuff out about myself, figuring stuff that I can improve, studying my opponents, figuring out what I need to do to be consistent and to be consistent to win. So the more time that I can figure with that, I think is going to help me become an Olympic champion,
And what would that mean to you? Have you pictured the Serbian national anthem being played, the flag being raised, you standing atop the podium? Have you pictured that?
Yeah, I have a lot. Like I try to do a lot of mental visualization of that, especially recently in this past like winter, spring time. I'm trying to learn. I'm learning more. I'm trying to learn the Serbian national anthem off my head to just kind of do it on my own. That's something cool. That'll be awesome. It'll mean a lot to me. I want to do it for myself, obviously, most, but it'd be just awesome just having my family there for me, and all the people that have been behind me and helping me push toward my goals. Something that helps fuel me too.
And you talk about that path, and I asked for fan questions, and Vahab Manocha, he asked, you talked about the 6, 7, 8 guys who could win. In your eyes, who right now are the top 3 57-kilo wrestlers in the world?
Well, I think the 3 guys I would have to beat to win. Because I can consider myself in that group, but also, I think like result and medal wise, I don't know if everyone would, you know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely see myself in that top 3 group, but I think to be able to win the Olympic gold, I would have to beat Uguyev, I would have to beat Otley, and I'd have to beat Kumar from India for sure. Those are the 3. I think those are the 3 guys that I would have to beat. That's not, without including like, whoever USA has, whoever Kazakhstan, whoever, Japan, Mongolia, Azerbaijan, those are obviously other good countries. So that I can see that are tough. But those three names are, those are the guys right now that are most consistent, I would say. And most proven on the world stage with medals. So those are the names I'd say.
Another fan question. Favorite football player? Ask Freddie Stroker.
Oh, soccer? Footballer, I guess, is what he told me to say. My personal favorite is Antoine Griezmann. He played for Atletico Madrid. He's a French striker, center forward, and now he plays for Barcelona. He was like one of the he's very good. And he kind of helped them lead France to a World Cup. I really like his style. But best player, I would say, is definitely Messi. Messi and Ronaldo is very good. But, I mean, I love soccer, so I could go on and talk about that forever. But
so who do you play? You play FIFA, right? That's what Freddie said.
I do play FIFA a lot. Yeah, I kind of got hooked onto Ultimate Team. It's really fun. You can kind of just, like, pick and create, like, your team of players that you like and, try to play other people who have, like, created teams. It's really fun.
We'll have to play each other one day.
Yeah.
That's what else we have. One more. I think we have time for one more, and then I'll let you go. Jackson Bird asked, describe your transition between collegiate wrestling and Olympic wrestling.
I'd say it's not too difficult. I think it's pretty simple, especially when you're training hard, and most of the wrestling is neutral anyways. But obviously you have different focal points. Around folk style is more of like an endurance compared to freestyle, which I think is like more of a positional strategy, staying strong, and then it's like a sprint to an attack or defense, which is a little more, it's more short and like to the punch, faster, and keep wrestling through the position till someone gets it, rather than in folk style, because there's no like break. Like once you take somebody down, there's no 15 seconds. I turn them, and if I don't, we go back up to our feet. We're working on getting holding a guy down, trying to turn him, getting that's wrestling is a little more endurance, because it's just keeps going nonstop, and having that in your toolbox is always as a plus.
And Andy Rovat and Nate Weber also asked questions. They talked. Rovat wanted to know about your time in Dagestan, and Weber wanted to know your wrestling style, and you already did that. So I won't keep you any longer. The floor is yours. Where can all of our fans, your fans, wrestling fans, follow you on social media? And do you have anything to say to the fans out there?
I'd say so. My if you guys want to follow my Instagram, it should be up there with United World Wrestling. And for those who aren't, want to watch it later, my name is Stevan MICIC. You can just type Stevan in, and it should come up. If you type Stevan MICIC, it'll come up. So I just pretty much use Instagram. I have a Twitter, but I'm not big into tweeting. So you just follow me on Instagram. And then for all the fans out there, that's pretty cool that you guys enjoy my wrestling. I mean, besides only obviously wrestling for myself, I do it to please the fans. I want to be a crowd pleaser when I wrestle, and light up the score on the mat. Get the crowd going, and get everybody excited about my wrestling. So thanks for supporting me, and keep supporting me to hopefully my Olympic gold medal that I want to get in 2021. So
all righty, well, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it, and good luck with everything moving forward, and stay strong and stay safe.
Same to you guys. Thanks, Eric. You're doing awesome things at UWW. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Peace.